Welcome in, everybody, to the CFB Nation All-America podcast, brought to you by our friends at FanDuel. I'm Bill Trocchi, senior editor at sportingnews.com, alongside Bill Bender, our national college football writer at sportingnews.com, and, for the moment, the president of the Football Writers Association of America. We're coming to you live on our CFB Nation YouTube channel again. If you want to subscribe, just go over to youtube.com, search CFB Nation, and click subscribe. Bender, you're down in Miami. You're wrapping up the FWAA 1-year commitment that you've done. And before we get started, I do want you to tell our listeners, since you are in Miami, the story you shared with us about your fake ID at OU.
No, I can't do that. No, I'm not going to get in trouble. That's the statute of – there may have been a government-issued document that said my name was Don Johnson in around 1999. But I would deny that in a court.
And you may or may not have dressed up like Don Johnson.
I may not have dressed up like, a white suit with a pink shirt to get into an establishment in 1999 or around then. But nobody can confirm that today.
I love it.
Well, I was going to. I think I can. Like there's a little bit more light there. I've got my Kurt. Maybe I'll do it while you're talking. But yeah, it's really nice weather down here. It's beautiful. Media day was good. And
have you seen Ibis yet? Has Ibis been walking around at all?
No. Media. The media.
Sebastian.
Yeah, Sebastian's not out yet.
Okay.
Media day was pretty tame actually. So, but there is a large, from who we've talked to around the Orange Bowl. And the officials at the game, it's looking like it's going to be 50-50.
Oh, fan-wise?
Oh, yeah.
Interesting. Okay, that was one of the questions leading into this game, of course, after Indiana took over Mercedes-Benz Stadium in Atlanta. That was unbelievable. But, well, that's good to hear. That'll be a fun environment for sure. So you have been very busy. We have been very busy at sportingnews.com. Putting content out for this week for the championship game that we had a piece on Curt Cignetti seeing his father's Hall of Fame display before the semifinals. We had Mike DeCourcy write a story about how Indiana media has had to shift from basketball to football as their priority for the last 2 years, as suddenly the Indiana fan base can't get enough of this football team. You had the transfer portal winners and losers. You've been working on your way too early. And you're going to have a bunch of stuff from today for Media Day. We'll touch on some of those topics as we go through the show. But before we do, let's get to some Trocchi trivia to kick us off. I'm going to ask you a question here. We can answer it at the end of the show. Think about it while we go through the show. Here we go. Miami is trying to win the national championship in its home stadium on Monday night. In the BCS CFP era, so since 1998, 5 teams have won the national championship in their home state.
Mm-hmm.
Can you name those 5 teams? So you've got about a 26-year period to go through and see if Miami can become the 6th team on Monday night. So
did 2 of them do it the same year?
You're on the right track, Ben.
I got that one then.
2 of them did get it in the same year, which is another twist to the answer. But yeah, so let's get into it. I mentioned before we get into this game, we mentioned the way too early top 25. That's going to come out Monday morning at sportingnews.com, like we always do, the day of the championship game. And you did a very good job on it. It's pretty much done. But we may have had a curveball with a certain team. After you wrote it, it came out that Duke quarterback Darian Mensah entered the transfer portal just before it closed, even though apparently he had a 2-year NIL contract with Duke. It appears Miami may be solving its quarterback problem by stealing Duke's starting quarterback right at the last minute. Obviously, this is a big surprise. And what did you think when you saw that Miami may be grabbing Mensah, and where does that leave Duke?
Well, I mean, Duke would be a top 25 team if he's on the roster. I mean, we have our way too early kind of preemptively ready, and that's going to publish Monday. And I don't know if they would be ranked without him. So I think that's the intrigue there. With these contracts, further regulation is needed. This is, sign a contract. And if they're going to buy him out for whatever that number is, I mean, that contributes to the cynical nature of this roster movement, the last minute portal. I mean, Miami had to get creative with its quarterback plan, obviously, losing Carson Beck and losing Cam Ward the year before that. But I think they definitely have a chance here to get their starter for next year, and that's probably what will happen. I mean, the implications of that happening within their own conference, that's a completely separate topic, but that's allowed to happen.
Yeah, I mean, Darian Mensah. So you say get creative. Duke got creative by giving this guy a 2-year deal when he came from Tulane, and it didn't matter. Like,
right.
College contracts from the coaches and now apparently to the players are unenforceable, whereas at the NFL, coaches' contracts and players' contracts are enforceable. So I think college football has to somehow get on the NFL's model of contracts actually mattering. It's very frustrating, I think, from a college football, from the broad perspective, right?
Mm-hmm.
That, this would be the equivalent of the Cowboys hiring Sean McVay today, right in the middle of the playoffs.
It's dumb. And like, this is one of those things where I get criticism for saying it's stupid that this is allowed to happen in college football. And I will continue to say it's stupid until it doesn't happen. So until you have enforceable contracts, this is the way it is. So, you don't blame Mensah for getting another opportunity, but I mean, it's definitely one of those things that is going to continue to happen until you always hear the phrase guardrails. Well, what does that mean? They need to come up with something to, make sure that these things don't happen, but they'll continue to happen until we do.
I blame Mensah a little bit. I mean, he's leaving Duke with nothing. Their backup quarterback transferred already, Henry Berlin, that leaves them with nothing. They gave him $2 million or whatever they gave. I think it was a 2-year, $4 million contract. So he's got $2 million because of Duke. And now he's kind of torpedoing their season like at the last second to get more dollars from Miami. So I don't know. Would I do the same thing if I was 21? Maybe so. But it's an unfortunate development, and like nobody's safe, or maybe they're safe now since the transfer portal is closed or whatever. I know Tennessee never got a quarterback, so they were about the only one when the musical chairs stopped that didn't land somebody probably that they're too excited about.
Right.
And Miami was in that boat too, but no, I mean, Mensah's good. Like, I like him. And I think he will do well at Miami. So speaking of Miami, so let's get into Media Day. Okay. And you're working on a story on Mr. Mario Cristobal. We've talked about it a little bit. Mario has that reputation for not being a good sideline coach. He's always been fairly successful. He did well at Oregon, turned around Miami a little bit. The one question was late game management. He had blown a couple of games, silly ways, didn't take a knee, and his teams had blown leads. You did some research on that. I'm eager to hear exactly what it was the extent of the Cristobaling beyond the Georgia Tech failed kneel down. And then we talked about in the college football playoff, they've been clutch in the latter half of the fourth quarter, 3 games in a row. So what has changed, and what did they say about their ability to play so clutch during this postseason?
I think, they're putting them, it's a coach's job to put the team in positions to win, and they're doing that. And, Carson Beck and Mario Cristobal, and talked to Kirk Herbstreit about it, and all of them agree. I mean, they've done that in this playoff. I kind of don't love the phrase Cristobaling, but it's going to follow them. And I asked Adam Kramer at Bleacher Report, and I were talking. I said, the phrase Clemsoning left the second, as he put it, the second Hunter Renfrow scored that touchdown.
Right.
So it's not the Georgia Tech thing will get talked about until they win one. And, I think Mario's handled it well. They've handled it well. He's actually doing a good job. It comes down to, do you trust them in these spots? And I mean, over the last 3 games, you can't say they're not. So, I think this Miami team's loose. I think they're going to enjoy the underdog role. It doesn't feel like a TCU TCU, Georgia underdog to me. I mean, TCU I knew was going to get crushed. Like I could see Miami getting crushed, but I'm not seeing it like that. So I think they've got a lot around Mario. We'll dig into that at Sporting News. I'll probably have that story up this afternoon. And I mean, I think he was good in this media day setting, and they've been pretty good in the last month or so. So I think it'll be fine.
So yeah, did he seem relaxed? I mean, as far as like, oh, yeah, we're an underdog, there's no pressure. There's pressure. There's definitely pressure on Miami. They're in their backyard. There's, have more talent on paper. So I wouldn't feel like this is a TCU situation. I'm happy to be there, just like you said. That game was a 13.5-point spread. This one's 8.5. Started at 5.5, but all the money has been coming in on the Hoosiers after their back-to-back blowouts in their last two games. How was Mario? Was he free-flowing and pretty relaxed, or was there a certain intensity to him?
I mean, there's always a certain intensity to him, but he was good in that setting. Like I said, he just said they have all these teams have some dominant traits and are complete teams, and he thinks they have made some mistakes, and that was the penalties in the second half against Ole Miss that he would point to. But they're in position to do this, and I think Mario deserves credit for that, and they're going to stay true to their identity. And really going to come down to the two guys that we talk about, Cristobal and Carson Beck. If Carson Beck doesn't make mistakes, which he hasn't done in the playoff, this team's going to be in position to win a national championship on Monday night. At least make it a 4-quarter game and make it really fun.
All right. How was the Indiana session? We talked about asking for reactions to the unfounded rumors, or whatever you want to call it, about cheating, and whether or not they were just completely ignoring it, or if it was putting even more of a chip on their shoulder, or that type of thing.
I just don't think I don't think it's a thing. Like, I didn't hear it from any media here, any players. Just, I think this was internet nonsense that got some life breathed into it, and it
went away. Came and went.
I don't think that has anything to do with anything about anything with Indiana on Monday night.
How was Cignetti?
Good. Yeah. Now another thing we're going to dig into is, I talked to several, Shanahan and Elijah Surratt and, D'Angelo Pons about, it really comes down to talent evaluation, talent development. That's what Curt Cignetti does better than anybody. And I know he answered the question. I wasn't in that scrum when he said he's not an NFL guy and that's not what he's going to do. But there's certainly some dominant, evaluation technique. I talked to Jason Taylor about him. So former Miami Dolphins legend is on Miami staff, obviously. So, I think that's what it comes down to. And I think, he's very good at that. I would say the dominant story, he was funny. I think, here's another thing. He mentioned he was asked about the Google Me thing. I think he actually regrets saying it because he has to constantly answer the question now, and it's annoying. Because, had he not used that, if he would just said, it's simple, look it up, I win, and left it at that, I think he'd be asked far less. He said, I think he said that actually because he was asked the question about winning 14 times. Cignetti's quirky. I think he's comparable to Jim Harbaugh in some ways, maybe a more friendly, more likable, less weird Jim Harbaugh. That's what Curt Cignetti is. And he's really done a good job. I think the story from Media Day is Fernando Mendoza. I think he had the biggest scrum at the podium. We can nitpick him all we want. There's nothing wrong with him. You can't, it's like there's a Tebow-like quality about him that you just can't find it. People were asking him, and there's a story I'm probably going to tell at Sporting News about that. But he's unbelievable presence, unbelievable kid. And that was probably my biggest takeaway from Media Day, honestly, was that we just can't find anything wrong with Fernando Mendoza. And Cignetti, I asked him that when he said the only time they've had even a remotely an exchange during a game was early in the season against Indiana State. He missed a couple throws in the red zone, but they've never, so I think that relationship's definitely coming into focus. And yeah, it was fun though, getting around, seeing Elijah Sarad, the Indiana media. There's some people we really like, friends of the show, like Jim Coyle, that I got to meet, and it was cool. So I think Indiana definitely, I would say I was judged by the podiums, and Fernando's was much larger than everybody else's.
I believe it. And so when I was getting ready for this pod, this occurred to me. You mentioned Harbaugh and Michigan. Of course, they rolled in the national championship game when they played Washington. And now I was thinking about McCarthy and Mendoza. And obviously Mendoza, a little more accomplished, of course, during this season. But as far as the offensive philosophies go, they don't need to pass their teams to victory. In the last two games, Mendoza's only thrown 36 passes. I think he's capable of obviously doing more, but I just looked it up. Like, he's averaged 18 passes a game in these two big wins because they've been ahead and all that kind of thing. If Miami takes a lead, makes it competitive, like, scores some long points, gets a, whatever happens, do you feel like Indiana is capable and comfortable in a game where Mendoza does throw 30 times?
Right. I mean, yeah, if they have to, and with those receivers, I don't, it's not like they're going to come out. Like, I think Shanahan made that joke today that, hey, we'll just throw every play, and that he was making it tongue in cheek. But no, I think they can, and Beck can throw 30 plus times in a game too, if it comes to it, if neither one of these teams can get the running game going. So yeah, I wouldn't, I think that's the big gap, and we'll see what happens.
I want to tease another one of your stories that you're working on, and that's kind of. Sorry.
Oh, did I lose you there for a second?
I don't think so. I don't know.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no, I mean, but
anyway,
that's where, yeah.
Yeah, so I want to tease another story you're working on from Media Day, and that's going to come out Monday at sportingnews.com. And the lead up to the game is what this championship could mean to the kids that grew up in South Florida. Miami's got a couple of superstars, and of course the dominant Miami teams of the late 80s, 90s, and 2001, a lot of them came from South Florida. And it was kind of a thing back then that you went to the U, and that helped establish their dominance. And, Malachi Toney, right, and Reuben Bain are both from South Florida. Did you talk to them at all about, what it means to them and how familiar they are maybe with the history of Miami kids going to Miami and possibly winning a national championship?
Oh, of course. And, it means a lot. They're a different generation of Canes. They haven't, a lot of these kids weren't born when they won their last one, but they know the stories from their parents. So, to hear Mark Fletcher Jr. talk about how he felt when Sean Taylor died, or how, like, his dad, and just growing up and knowing who Sean Taylor is, I don't, maybe I'm misquoting that a little bit, but like hearing his dad talk about Sean Taylor dying and the importance of that to the program. These kids know that. Being from Liberty City, that was Malachi Toney, and having the impact that he did. Reuben Bain said, the dream that when you're a kid here, you want to wear the green and orange. And it means something to them, and it means something a little more. And I think that's a refreshing thing in college football is, yes, they have portal guys, but they have some important central pieces to this program that are from Miami, and that's not going to change. So that will definitely come into focus Monday night. If these guys are able to win a title for their hometown, so to speak, home city, that would be a huge story. So yeah, they were definitely into it. And, that presence is definitely palpable around the Miami players, and I think that's great for college football.
Give me the sense of how much media is there. Normal, more, less. Kind of as far as how many reporters were covering Media Day. Sometimes Media Day can turn into an annoying circus when there are kind of non-media people running around asking the players to draw logos on sheets of paper and things like that. How was Media Day from that aspect? Was it mostly fine. Business?
No, the college football playoff does a great job running this, and then they that did not disappoint. So I don't think it was probably less than Ohio State Notre Dame last year, but Ohio State has a giant beat, and so does Notre Dame. And but there was enough of the local Miami media here and those kind of things that it was a lot of fun. And that I don't think the scrums were over the top, but certainly, they'll be interested. I think, like I said, the Indiana is a very interesting angle from afar, but the trick is if they win, everybody's already set, kind of predetermined what this means. So we'll find out what it means on Monday night. I think we're going to get a hell of a game.
Yes, no doubt. All right, we got to get into our game prediction, the actual prediction. Through the playoff, I think I'm 6-4. You're 5-5. It was the Miami win over Ole Miss that separated us last week. We were tied going into last week. So I think we're both going to take Indiana. But I know you picked Indiana initially. I'm giving you an out. If you want to, you've been down there now a little bit. If you want to change your pick to Miami +8. So on FanDuel, it is still 8.5 for the Hoosiers, and the over-under is 47.5. So that's dropped 1 point, I think, since last time. But basically a 28-20 type of game is what they're looking at. I'm going to go with Indiana. I just think that they match up better, and the key thing is to watch is whether or not Miami can run the ball, right? Because if they, Indiana has not been surrendering many rushing yards. Miami has been piling up the rushing yards. So it's strength on strength right there. That'll set the tone early. I don't think they're going to put it in Carson Beck's hands in the first quarter, in the first half. If he has to throw it in the second half, he's shown he can do it. But Miami's tendency has been to establish the run. That's Mario ball. And I think Indiana can stop it. And Mendoza has been as close to perfect as you can be so far. So I see Indiana taking a lead like they've done and trying to play keep away a little bit with Miami. And Miami, fighting an uphill battle for most of the night. So I'm taking Indiana. You go ahead.
I mean, for the sake of the game, I'll take Miami to cover. I do think I had it at 31-19. If I had to revisit it, it's 8. If the spread's 8.5, I could see this being like 28-21. Miami playing with a lot of pride.
Yeah, you can make a case.
I don't think they'll win, but I think they can definitely make a case if they can make it a 4-quarter game. If they can turn this into the game that Iowa and Penn State did against Indiana. I think the problem with that theory is Indiana's just playing better. They'll have to follow kind of a mix of what they did against Ohio State and what Ohio State did to Indiana in that loss. It was a close game, even though they lost. So
how did Ohio State slow them down in that game? And they only gave up
they just
13 points.
They played defense. Like they didn't I think it was the talent that Ohio State had a ton of talent on the defensive side. And, against Miami, they couldn't slow Miami down the first half. They were good. Fernando made a handful of throws. And I think that's what's going to happen in this game, that he'll have to make a handful of throws and he'll make them to Surratt or Cooper or Becker. And that'll end up being a difference, especially against this Miami secondary that's banged up and missing a player who was ejected for targeting. So the first half, I would anticipate Indiana's pretty aggressive early in this game.
Yes, this is Troche trivia number 2. Do you know the last one-score game in the title game? Georgia, Alabama, 2nd and 26.
Oh,
since then we have not. So the last 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 championship games, the favored team has won and covered and won by double digits.
Right.
So I think we're actually due for a close game.
Oh, yes, and I think we will. I think it'll be reasonable, but I still like Indiana to win.
Yeah. So, all right, let's get to the Troche trivia. We'll go back to Troche trivia 1 here. Miami's trying to win the national championship in its home stadium on Monday night. In the BCS CFP era since 1998, 5 teams have won the national championship in their home state. Can you name them?
I have 4 of them. Oh, 5. I can get all 5, I think. No.
You're awesome.
Okay, I'm going to try.
This is right up your alley. This is
USC and LSU both did in 2003.
Yes, LSU
So
beat
that's the trick
Oklahoma
question.
in the Sugar Bowl in 2003, and USC beat Michigan in the Rose Bowl in 2003. They split the national title. There's 2 of your 5 right there.
Mm-hmm. I'm trying to go through like literally by year of all the. Florida did one of Myers. I think it was the second one against Oklahoma.
You are correct. 2008 Florida with Tim Tebow. They beat Oklahoma in Miami.
Okay, hold on. I'll just go right through in my head and see if I can get to. I got to skip ahead first. LSU in 19 because that's the one I know.
Yes, the Joe Burrow LSU team. They beat Clemson in New Orleans.
And it's really going to come down to whether or not none of those teams did. Florida State in 13.
Incorrect.
That's a Fiesta Bowl. Give me one more guess. Shoot. I'm blanking why. Well, Alabama was never in their home state, so it's got to be. Give me 1 second. Georgia didn't win it in Atlanta. LSU.
They almost did, but they didn't.
They did not. Right. Why am I blanking on this? Who won it last year?
You're going to kick yourself.
It's not Michigan. It's not. I mean, they were in Houston. Hold on. No, I don't know. Tell me.
2007 LSU beat Ohio State.
Yeah.
In the Sugar Bowl.
Oh, Jacob Hester's going to be pissed because I just talked to him, and he's going to be pissed at me for forgetting that one.
And all your Columbus boys too.
They did play in the Sugar Bowl. That's right. So
Famous.
yeah, LSU is always the answer, I guess. Yeah, that would have been the easiest guess to make.
So yeah, there's no national championships held in Alabama, as far as we know. So they always win it though. So all right, well, very good. So we're going to have great coverage at sportingnews.com all weekend. We'll have stories Saturday, Sunday, Monday. Then Monday night, of course, we'll have live coverage from the game, and then go into Tuesday and the off season and everything like that. So we would just thank everyone for listening to the CFB Nation All-America podcast, brought to you by our friends at FanDuel. Thank you to Irish Breakdown, your source for Notre Dame football information. Enjoy the rest of your day. Enjoy the national championship. Bender, you enjoy the national championship. Enjoy the Eddie Robinson dinner.
I will.
You hand off the FWAA presidency to a worthy successor at CBS. And we will see you. We're going to let you travel Tuesday.
All right.
Next podcast, Wednesday morning, 9:30. How about that?
Sounds great. That sounds great. Thanks to all our listeners. I appreciate it.